What is going on, my fellow navigators, and welcome back to another video. Today is going to be a little bit different, guys. It's going to be a little bit different format than what I've had in previous videos. Today is going to be much more free form, a lot less editing on the video, and I'm really just going to speak with you all in a more natural, kind of visceral way versus the highly edited videos that I've had here in the past. And the reason being is recently I've been watching and reading more books on history, and one of the things that I found really interesting was back in the early 30s to the mid 40s, President Roosevelt had a series of talks that he would give called Fireside Chats. And these were essentially a way for the president to get in front of the American public and discuss topics that were of relevance to that particular time. So as you know, that was quite a tumultuous time during American history. We had the Great Depression, World War II, obviously, and there was a lot of uncertainty as to how the future was going to unfold. And President Roosevelt really wanted to make himself more available to the public, so that they felt that he cared for them, that he was looking out for them. And I found this really interesting, a really unique approach, and especially in today's day and age, where I feel like we've got even more disconnection than ever before. We're communicating via some type of technology. The pandemic has exacerbated that. And so I wanted to just sit down and discuss topics that I felt were of the most relevance to the time in which we're in. And obviously it's going to be related to Pokemon. I'm not going to go off on a tangent of something else. I'm going to keep it related to Pokemon. But I just think these are a little more heartfelt, a little more of a one-on-one approach, so that you guys can get really my honest opinion and advice on certain topics. So what drove me to create this type of video is a theme and a question that I've gotten consistently over the last few months since I started on YouTube. And that question has consistently been, how big is your collection? Why don't you show your collection? Questions like that. And I, started to think about it and think about, what is the root cause of, people wanting to know, how big a collection is, and to, validate someone's status by by the size of their collection. And I started to think to myself, this is something that I really need to address. And the reason that I need to address it is, as I said, not to validate my personal collection, but to address it so that we get to the core of what I think good investing principles are. Okay, so let's go ahead and back up a little bit. So when I first started investing in Pokemon cards, this was around the end of 2016. Now the market was fairly different back then than it is now. We hadn't had that huge spike in price. We hadn't had that huge influx of new investors and collectors into the market. And as I've said before, I, at that time, was still a financial advisor, and being engrossed in that world and understanding markets, understanding finances, I saw Pokemon card investing as an opportunity. Now, with that being said, I also understood, even at that time, the importance of diversification. Okay, and if you guys aren't familiar with that term, diversification is really just the old analogy of not having all of your eggs in one basket. And this is important because if we have a fluctuation in one market, whether it's Pokemon cards, whether it's the stock market, whether it's real estate, if you have all of your assets in that particular asset class, then chances are you're going to get hit really hard when there's a downturn in the market. We've seen that through the pandemic. We saw that through the recession, the 2007, 2008 recession. Those folks that had all of their wealth in one particular area and didn't spread themselves out were hit really hard. So going back to 2016, I realized that this was an opportunity. It was an opportunity to create another income stream as well as another investing strategy for myself. So as I began to become more engrossed in that world, and as I started to make more and more profit off of my investments and churning cards and things like that, I then turned and reinvested a big portion of those profits into other areas. And that included things like the stock market, real estate, and other business ventures. Okay. And the reason being is, as I said before, I wanted to create a all-inclusive type of investing strategy. So getting back to the original, question here of, what does your collection look like? So right now, my collection, if you're comparing it to other YouTubers, it is probably, not very impressive by those standards. Now, my personal collection, which are, higher end products, I keep all of those in safe deposit boxes at different banks. I have 2 different banks that I actually keep my higher end products that are from my personal collection in. And this includes a few booster boxes, sealed booster packs, really spanning all of the WotC era, and then also about 10 to 15 graded cards, ranging anywhere from PSA and Beckett 8s up to PSA 10s and Beckett 10s. So, not necessarily a small collection, but, by other standards, I guess, that people set from other YouTubers that they see, not huge. But at the same time, something else that I want to address in that is that your collection should never, or the size of your collection should never be what you're striving for to try to prove some type of status or to, prove that you're somehow an endowed collector or even an investor for that matter. My whole goal from the time that I started was that I got into investing in Pokemon cards specifically so that I could take profit from that, reinvest it into other areas, and ultimately have multiple streams of income that I could pull from. So, work hard over however many years it took, and then eventually get to the point to where you have income coming from various sources that I could then use to ultimately focus on being purely a collector. And I think this is something that a lot of people misconstrue is the difference between an investor and a collector. And for me, investing is going into it with the intention of either holding on to that product or asset for a limited time and churning it, or holding on to it for a longer term, but ultimately turning that asset for a profit sometime in the future. Whereas collecting is going in and purchasing product or assets because they hold some type of sentimental value, and it's something that you plan on holding on to for the long term. Well, not even for the long term, really forever, and perhaps even passing that down to generations beyond yourself. And I think that is something that many people miss and something that a lot of people misconstrue. And so this is something that I wanted to address here today. A topic that I think is, especially right now, I've seen other videos on YouTube that are starting to kind of hint towards this as well. SM Pratt has spoke about this on his channel, where he discussed one of his big pieces of advice was to, if you're getting into Pokemon, go into it first with a collector's mindset and then start investing. I think this is a prudent approach for many people, because as I've seen over several years of being in the financial markets, when that wave is riding really high, everybody's jumping on that wave, and that's what we're seeing right now with Pokemon. Everybody is jumping on that wave, and everybody's riding the crest of that wave. But as with any market, there is always going to be some type of downturn. Now, am I saying that I think Pokemon is going to have a crash and we're going to bottom out prices and prices are going to go back to the way they were back in 2010 or earlier? No, I don't think that. But what you will see is that when that downturn does come, you will see a lot of people break. When that wave crashes and breaks, that's when everyone else breaks as well. And it's really those people who have understood this cyclical nature and have invested in an appropriate way. Those are the ones that will ride that out and then come back out on top when that wave starts to build again. And another video that I watched that really harkened on this very thing was Z from Z&G Emporium, and he used the analogy of a craps table. For those of you that aren't familiar, craps is the game where you roll the dice and essentially you're making bets along the way. I'm not too familiar with the game of craps. I'm not a big gambler myself, probably from so many years of being in the financial markets. I don't really condone any form of gambling. But essentially, he uses that analogy to compare it to what we're seeing right now in the Pokemon card market, where with craps, there is this saying that the table is hot or the table is cold. And when the table's cold, nobody's really hitting on their roll. But as soon as the table starts to get hot, all of a sudden, people start to flock to the table. Now you have the same chances of rolling no matter if the table's cold or if the table's hot. But for some reason, there is an inborn psychology in human beings where when they see that there is a flood into a particular area, if there is others, congregating into a certain place, then it is almost human nature to want to jump onto that as well. And so in the analogy of craps, when the table gets hot, everybody starts flocking in, everyone starts wanting to get in on the game as well. But as soon as a few hands are missed and the table goes cold, that's when everybody flocks away. And so realistically, guys, just to kind of give this whole conversation a summation today, getting back to my original point, for me personally, my collection, isn't huge at this point. And over the years, I have taken the approach of investing for the purpose of reinvesting those profits into other asset classes so that eventually I don't have to worry about going into Pokemon from mainly an investor's mindset. Okay, I want to get to the point to where I am going at it from a purely collector's standpoint, and where I'm buying product because I know I'm going to hold on to it for the long term. And realistically, if you think about it, this is where we all started. We all started out as collectors, and we played Pokemon. We enjoyed Pokemon cards because of the inherent joy that it brought us. And I think in many ways we're starting to lose that. We're starting to lose that collector's mindset, and many people are just focused purely on the money that can be made, which I'm not saying that this isn't important. What I'm saying is that when you're getting into a hobby like this, make sure that you're paying your due diligence and that you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. You know, there's been so many reports now of people who have, you know, I've said this in a previous video, of people who have put their Pokemon card investments on credit and now are in debt, and now they're trying to pay off that debt. That's no approach to have. Okay, guys, I always try to provide you with what I think are very prudent approaches to investing, specifically in Pokemon cards. But for today, I want you guys to actually sit back and think about, you know, approaching this from the standpoint of, you know, maybe consider moving some of that money around to different areas, so that in the end you can approach Pokemon cards from a collector standpoint. You can approach Pokemon cards from a pure joy standpoint. And you know, I if you think that I'm the only one that does this, you know, just take a look around. Even look around on YouTube. Even a lot of the bigger PokeTubers that you see that have expensive product, that have big collections, they're not just solely involved in Pokemon card investing. You know, you could take, let's say somebody like Leonhardt, for instance, you know, probably one of the more well-known faces of the Pokemon card community. You know, he started out as a lawyer, and, you know, up until a few years ago, still worked as a lawyer as he was building up his YouTube channel. He's also done voice acting on the side, and to my knowledge, still does that on the side. So, you know, his collection, you know, along with, you know, the revenue that he gets from YouTube, his collection has been built from multiple streams of income. I mean, you could call those different investing strategies. Really, he's investing in himself when he, you know, pursues these other endeavors, but he's really pulling from multiple income streams to go ahead and fund his collection. And I'm sure if you asked him, you know, that's what brings him the most joy, is being able to have a collection, go about it in a collector's mindset, and then be able to share that collection, you know, with the world. Even, you know, somebody like PokéRev, where he has built a business around Pokemon card investing, but he's moved into the realm of YouTube, taking that business model and shaping it so that he can pull another income stream off of YouTube, off of box breaks, you know, things like that. So he's creating multiple forms of income to go ahead and essentially fund his passion, his overall joy of collecting Pokemon. And you'll see this recurring theme among all of them. You know, among most PokeTubers, amongst most big name investors, collectors out there, they have their investment strategies spread among different areas, and that's ultimately how they're able to build their personal collections. So this is just something that you know, I wanted to sit down, speak with you guys about today, and really go more in depth on this topic of. There's really, it's kind of a multifaceted video here, because there's a lot of different things going on. You know, there's, like I said, the difference between a collector and an investor. What, you know, the fact that one's collection, the quantity of one's collection isn't necessarily a status, you know, a echelon of where they are, or you know, what they represent. And I think these are all really important things. And obviously, the other thing here that I believe many people are overlooking is putting all of their eggs in this one basket. And as I've said before, I've seen it among a lot of different financial markets, where, you know, one area is hot, whether maybe it's the stock market's hot, maybe it's real estate is hot, and you see this wave of individuals that enter that market and ride that wave, but as soon as that wave crashes, they're out as quickly as they came in. And that's not something that I want to see in the realm of Pokemon cards. I want this to be a healthy hobby. I want all of you to be able to, have a successful collecting career, investing career, and that's why I provide the content that I do. So again, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this conversation here today. If you did, be sure to go ahead and leave the video a big old thumbs up. And if you would like me to go ahead and continue with these fireside chats in the future, make sure to go ahead and comment down below. And also let me know of other topics that maybe are on your mind or that you've seen a recurring theme of throughout the market or maybe online that you would like me to go ahead and discuss. And, as we move on into the future, we are almost at 500 subscribers at the time of recording. In the future, as we get over that 1,000 subscriber threshold, then we will have more one-on-one dialogue concerning these discussions. We'll have live chats, and we'll be able to really get into this more on a personal level, and maybe take these quote-unquote fireside chats to another level, because ultimately, my joy in this channel is not only providing you guys with the content, but also being able to connect with like-minded people out there, and really enjoying this hobby to the fullest extent. So that is going to go ahead and do it for today, guys. Again, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for coming back each and every week. Other than that, my name is PokéNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon one video at a time, and I will see you all in the next video.